The man who ordered this Grand Wagoneer in 2022 paid $92,000 for it. He wanted the Macintosh stereo, the Napa leather, all 5 screens. 3 years later, he pulled onto a dealer lot to trade it in, and the used car manager slid a number across the desk that made him go quiet. $43,000. That's it. Half his money gone while he was busy paying it off. Here's the part nobody says out loud. His loss is somebody else's steal. Every SUV on this list took a brutal beating in its first 3 years, and every dollar the first owner ate is a dollar you don't have to spend. Today we're counting down 7 3-row SUVs that already shed 20 grand or more, and why the smart buyer is circling them right now. Let me set the ground rules before we start, because this matters. These are not compact crossovers that lost a few $1,000s. These are big, expensive, luxury and near luxury 3-row machines that started life north of $60,000, $70,000, even $90,000. Vehicles with those kinds of sticker prices have the furthest to fall, and boy do they fall. The average luxury SUV loses roughly half its value in 3 years. That's not an opinion, that's the baseline. So when we say lost 20,000, in most of these cases, we're being conservative. Let's get into it. Number 7, the Audi Q7. We're starting here because the Q7 is the gentle end of this list, the one that eases you into just how ugly luxury depreciation gets. A 2022 Audi Q7, depending on trim, has dropped somewhere between $23,000 and $27,000 in 3 years. That's a loss of around 49%. IC Cars pegs the 3-year depreciation at about 45%, with a resale value hovering in the low 30s. So a family that paid roughly 55 to 60 grand for one new is looking at examples selling today in the mid to high 20s. Why does it crater like that? It's not because the Q7 is a bad vehicle. It's the opposite of a bad vehicle. The problem is that the luxury SUV world moves at a sprint, and a 3-year-old Q7 sits next to a brand new one that looks nearly identical, but has slightly fresher infotainment. So the used one gets punished for a crime it didn't commit. Audi also leaned hard into its electric e-tron lineup, which quietly signals to buyers that the gas Q7 is yesterday's news. It isn't, but perception drives prices. Here's what you actually get for that mid-20s money. Standard 3-row seating, which most rivals in this class charge extra for. A genuinely upscale cabin with the dual screen setup and the virtual cockpit digital gauge display that still looks modern years later. And if you find one with the 3-liter supercharged V6 instead of the base 4-cylinder, you get a smooth, torquey engine that suits the car far better. The 3rd row is tight, best left for kids, but the whole package feels like a $60,000 vehicle, because it was one. If you're shopping, one thing to check hard: if it has the adaptive air suspension, make sure it rides level and doesn't sag overnight, because air struts are the expensive Achilles heel on these. Also, these are direct injected engines, so ask whether the intake valves have ever been walnut blasted for carbon buildup on higher mileage examples. Do those 2 checks, and the Q7 is a lot of German luxury for Honda Pilot money. Number 6, the Infiniti QX80. Now the losses start getting serious. A 2022 Infiniti QX80 has depreciated roughly $33,000 in 3 years, right around 49%, and you can find them today in the low 30s. Think about that. A full-size V8 powered body-on-frame luxury SUV, and the first owner ate 30 grand for you. But here's where the QX80 gets interesting, because unlike a lot of luxury depreciation stories, this one is not hiding a fragile drivetrain. Under that hood is a 5.6-liter V8 making 400 horsepower, and that engine shares its DNA with the ones Nissan bolts into the Titan and the Armada. It is a stout, proven timing chain motor that tows up to 8,500 pounds and generally just runs. This is the rare case where the badge says luxury, but the mechanicals say truck, and truck mechanicals are cheap and well understood by every competent shop in the country. So why did it dump value so fast? Two reasons. First, it drinks premium fuel and returns numbers that make you flinch at the pump, so demand softens. Second, the pre-redesigned interior and tech felt dated even when it was new, and the market knows it. Neither of those things stops the truck from lasting 200,000 miles. If you go looking, the big ticket item to inspect is the hydraulic body motion control system on the higher sensory trims. It is fantastic when it works and pricey when it does not, so make sure the ride is composed and there are no leaks or warning lights. Beyond that, check brake wear and get the transmission fluid condition verified. This is an SUV where you let the original owner pay for the depreciation and the premium fuel, and you swoop in for the durable V8. Number 5, the Lincoln Navigator. The 2022 Lincoln Navigator started at around $82,000 and climbed past $108,000 for the black label. 3 years later, the standard Navigator has shed about $29,000, roughly 42%. And the long wheelbase Navigator L is even more dramatic, dropping in the neighborhood of $44,000, more than half its value. You can buy these plush American land yachts today in the high 30s. Here's the value angle that makes the Navigator special, and it's the same trick as the QX80. The Navigator is built on the bones of the Ford Expedition. Same platform, same twin turbocharged 3.5-liter V6, making 440 horsepower, same 10-speed automatic. Lincoln draped it in a spectacular interior, a Revel audio system that genuinely impresses audiophiles, 30-way massaging seats, and enough screens to run a small television studio. But underneath, it's a Ford, which means any independent shop can work on the drivetrain, and parts cost a fraction of what German rivals demand. Why the free fall? Full-size luxury from a domestic brand simply doesn't command strong resale, fair or not. Buyers chasing that badge prestige drift toward the Escalade, and the Navigator gets left holding the bag on depreciation. If you shop one, listen carefully on a cold start for any rattle from the cam phasers, a known quirk on some of these EcoBoost V6s. Check the air suspension for leaks and make sure the sync infotainment doesn't freeze or lag, because the electronics are the weak point, not the engine. Get those confirmed and you're driving a $100,000 living room for the price of a loaded minivan. Number 4, the Mercedes-Benz GLS. Mercedes calls the GLS the S-Class of SUVs, and they're not just marketing. This is the full-size 3-row flagship, and a 2022 GLS has given up around $38,000 over 3 years, about 44%. Even the more sensible GLS 450 trim, the one with the silky turbocharged inline 6 and mild hybrid assist, dropped roughly $28,000. Today they land somewhere in the mid to high 40s, down from mid 70s and up when new. And here's the thing that should make you pause. KBB owners rate the third generation GLS a 4.5 out of 5 for reliability. This isn't a temperamental exotic. It's a genuinely well-built luxury SUV that happens to depreciate like clockwork because it wears a 3-pointed star, and because Mercedes buyers, as a rule, lease new and rotate out every 3 years. That churn floods the used market and hammers prices, which is fantastic news if you're the person buying used. For your money, you get one of the best cabins on the road, the Airmatic air suspension that glides over broken pavement, and a choice between that smooth inline 6 or a muscular V8. 3 rows, real space, real luxury. The caveat is honest. This is still a Mercedes, and out of warranty, repairs aren't cheap. The Airmatic suspension is the classic big bill item, so inspect it thoroughly and budget for it eventually. Same with the 48-volt electrical system and any oil weepage. My advice on this one specifically: strongly consider buying a certified pre-owned example or budgeting for an extended warranty, because the depreciation is your friend, but the maintenance is not. Do that math, and the GLS is an astonishing amount of car for the money. Number 3, the BMW X7. The X7 is BMW's biggest, most opulent SUV, and it started around $78,000 for a base 2023 model. In 3 years, it's dropped between $28,000 and $34,000, depending on the trim and the source, roughly 35 to 41%. I see Cars has it losing about 32% in 3 years. You'll find them today right around $50,000, which for a vehicle that's stickered near $80,000 is a serious discount on a serious machine. Now, why I put the X7 higher on this list than its dollar figure alone might justify the drivetrain. The Volume X-Drive 40i version uses BMW's 3.0-liter turbocharged inline-six, the engine known internally as the B58, and that motor has quietly become one of the most robust power plants BMW has built in the modern era. Enthusiasts swap them into other cars because they're so overbuilt. So while everyone assumes a used BMW is a financial grenade, the six-cylinder X7 is actually one of the safer bets in the German luxury space. What you get is a whisper-quiet, powerful, beautifully trimmed three-row that drives smaller than it is. The trade-off, and I'll be straight with you, is that the third row and cargo area are tighter than the Escalade or Navigator, so this is luxury first, hauling second. Shopping notes. The aging BMW pattern here is cooling system components and oil leaks from the valve cover and oil filter housing gaskets, so look for weeping around the engine and check the coolant history. Tires are run flats and they're expensive, so factor a set into your offer. Get a pre-purchase inspection from a BMW savvy shop and the X7 stops being scary and starts being a bargain. Number 2, the Cadillac Escalade. You knew this one was coming. The Escalade is the king of both presence and depreciation. Loaded examples sticker close to $100,000, and the numbers on the back end are staggering. Analysts have measured the Escalade losing north of $50,000 over 5 years, with some data putting the drop closer to $60,000 on the highest trims, well over half its value. Even 3-year-old examples are down tens of thousands from where they started. This is, in raw dollars, one of the biggest wealth transfers in the entire SUV market, from the first owner straight to you. And just like the Navigator and the QX80, the Escalade's secret is that it's mechanically a corporate cousin of much cheaper vehicles. It rides on the same platform as the Chevy Tahoe and GMC Yukon, uses the same 6.2-liter V8 and 10-speed automatic, and adds the magnetic ride control suspension and a cabin dripping with screens and leather. That means the expensive-looking Escalade is serviceable at any GM competent shop, with parts shared across millions of vehicles. For your money, you get a genuine 8-seater with a cavernous interior, that thunderous V8, and the kind of curb presence no German rival matches. It is a lot of truck for the discounted price. 2 honest cautions. First, the 6.2-liter V8 uses cylinder deactivation, and across GM's V8 family there have been documented lifter failures tied to that system, so you want a clean service history and no ticking on a cold start. Second, the current generation Escalade launched in 2021, and early build examples had their share of electronic and climate control gremlins, so a later build or a well-sorted one is the smarter buy. Inspect the air ride struts too. Clear those hurdles and you own the most recognizable SUV on the road for a fraction of new car money. And number 1, the Jeep Grand Wagoneer. This is the one I'd point a friend toward first, and it's the SUV from the story at the top of this video. When Jeep resurrected the Grand Wagoneer, they aimed it straight at the Escalade and the Navigator, with sticker prices from about $90,000 up past $110,000. And then it depreciated off a cliff. A 2022 Grand Wagoneer has dropped around $35,000 in 3 years, roughly 44%. It gets even wilder on newer examples. Analysts found a 2024 model shedding nearly 53% of its value in just 2 years, meaning a $92,000 SUV changing hands around 48. One outlet flatly called it the best used luxury deal in America, and it's hard to argue. Here's why it earns the top spot. For that mid-40s price, you are getting a staggering amount of vehicle. 3 rows with real adult space, a cabin lined in Napa leather and open pore wood, up to 5 interactive screens, a 23-speaker Macintosh sound system, standard air suspension, and a 10,000-pound towing capacity. Under the hood is either a 6.4-liter V8 making around 470 horsepower, or on later builds, the twin turbocharged Hurricane Inline 6 that pushes past 500 and can launch this 3.5-ton land yacht to 60 in about 5 seconds. This is a vehicle that, when new, was cross-shopped against the Escalade and the Mercedes GLS, and it can now be had for less than a mid-trim family crossover. Let me be the honest friend here, because number one deserves the full truth. The Grand Wagoneer's depreciation isn't purely a badge problem like the Mercedes. Part of it is that these were brand new first-generation vehicles with all the early run software and electronics quirks that implies, and the brand doesn't yet carry Toyota's reliability halo. The 6.4-liter Hemi is thirsty, and like other big GM and Chrysler V8s, its cylinder deactivation lifters are worth scrutinizing. So the playbook is specific. Buy the 2 to 3-year-old example where someone else already absorbed the $35,000 hit and the early software bugs have been updated. Confirm every screen and system works, verify the air suspension rides level, get a cold start listen on the engine, and make sure all recalls and software updates are logged. Do that, and you are driving one of the most luxurious 3-row SUVs on the planet for the price the market wrongly assigned it, not the price it's actually worth. So there's your list. 7 3-row SUVs the first owners paid dearly for, and the second owners get to enjoy. The Audi Q7 and its German cabinet crossover money. The Infiniti QX80 and Lincoln Navigator, luxury bodies wrapped around durable, cheap-to-fix truck bones. The Mercedes GLS, the S-Class of SUVs at a lease return discount. The bulletproof 6 BMW X7, the unkillable platform Cadillac Escalade, and the Grand Wagoneer, $90,000 of American luxury selling for 40-something. The lesson underneath all 7 is the same. Depreciation isn't just a loss, it's a transfer. Somebody has to eat that first brutal drop, and it doesn't have to be you. Next time you're on a lot staring at a shiny new full-size SUV with a sticker that makes your stomach turn, remember there's a 3-year-old version of that exact vehicle, a few rows over, mechanically 95% identical, with 30 grand already knocked off the price by a stranger. If this helped you look at that dealer lot a little differently, subscribe, because I've got a companion video coming on which of these luxury SUVs are genuinely cheap to live with long term, and which ones will quietly bleed you dry in the shop. That's the video that tells you which of these deals is actually a deal. I'll see you in that one. Drive smart, buy used, and let the other guy pay the depreciation.